In Module 6, we're going to look at systems of equations and inequalities. So to start things off in Section 1, we kind of want to review what a linear equation is. So a linear equation is an equation between two variables where one variable is independent and the other is dependent. So what that means is the value of one variable is dependent upon the value of another. So usually our independent variable is our x and our dependent variable is our y. So when you're trying to model a situation with a linear equation, because a lot of what we're going to do in Module 6 is word problems associated with linear equations and then inequalities as well. So your first step should always be to determine what each variable represents. Because if you don't know what your variables represent, it makes it a little bit more difficult to write your equation. So a few of the examples that we're going to be looking at are sales tax, percent discount, cost estimation, budgeting, and rates. So for our examples, the first thing we're going to do is write the linear equation that models the situation. So in our first example, we have that Miss Dodson joined a coffee club that charged her a one-time fee of $15 for a coffee mug, plus $1.50 every time she purchases coffee. So when I go to write my equation, my variables, I'm going to use x and y. X is the variable that you're going to be plugging in information for. So X is going to represent your number of cups of coffee. And then Y would represent your total cost. So for our equation, we'll have Y equals, then we have to have the cost per coffee, which is $1.50, X, plus, and then the one-time fee of $15. And that's the linear equation that represents the situation. Number 2, we have that Mr. Reardon bought a new pickup truck with a sales tax of 6%. So our X variable here is going to be the cost of the truck before tax. And then Y is going to be the total cost. So this works a little bit differently. The way this is going to work is you're going to have Y equals, you're going to have your cost of your truck, X, and the way sales tax works is you have to take your sales tax, multiply it by your price, and then add it on to your original. So it's going to be X plus 0.06X. Because you have to do 6% of the cost. So then you get the equation Y equals 1.06X. If you think about it, I have to pay for 100% of the item plus an additional 6%. Number 3, we have that Mrs. Morales is planning on adopting a puppy. The adoption fee is $200 and dog food costs $50 monthly. So X is going to represent our number of months, and Y is going to be our total cost. So we'll have Y equals 50X plus 200. Alright, so for the last example, we have that Miss Huffman is deciding between two different packages of pens that are on sale. The first package is 30% off and the second is 25% off. So X is going to be the price of pens and Y is going to be our sale price. So we're going to have two equations here. So for our first equation, percent off, very similar to sales tax, except instead of adding it, you subtract it. So my first package of pens minus, and then it is 30% off, so 0.30x which gives us y equals 0.70x. So we have to pay for 70% of the original cost. For our other package, we'll have y equals x minus 0.25x. Then we have y equals 0.75x. We have two equations here. So now what we're going to do is for each of the four examples from our first page, we're now going to solve for one of our variables. And that variable could be x or y. So for our first example, Miss Dotson received an $85 worth of gift cards and wanted to know how many days of free coffee can she purchase. So our equation is y equals 1.50x plus 15. So now I have to figure out, is $85 my x or my y? And it's going to be my y here because it's the total amount of money that she can spend. So we'll have 85 equals 1.50x plus 15. Now we're just solving our linear equation for x. For our first step, we're going to subtract 15. So we get 70 equals 1.50x. Then we'll divide by 1.50. So we're going to get x equals 46.67. Now, I can't have a decimal number of days here. And I'm not going to follow my rules of rounding here, because if I followed my rules of rounding, I would round up and say she can get 47 free cups of coffee. But however, $47, if I plug that into my equation, would get me over 85. So in this case, if I have a max amount of money that I can spend, I need to always round down. So in this case, she can get 46 days of free coffee. Now, obviously, this is assuming Miss Dotson has 1 cup of coffee a day. So our days of free coffee is basically the same thing as how many cups of free coffee can she get, because we are assuming that Miss Dotson only has 1 cup of coffee a day. So for our example, second example, we want to find the original price of the pickup truck Mr. Reardon bought if he spent $35,798. So we have y equals 1.06x. So we don't know the original price, which is what x is, because that's the price before taxes, but we know the total cost. So we have $35,798 equals 1.06x. So if I want to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 1.06. And we're going to get x equals, we'll use our dollar sign because it's money, $33,771.70. My decimal is 0.698. So because it's money, we always round 2 decimal places. The 8 makes the 9 go up, which is how we get 70 cents. Okay. Third example, we have that Mrs. Morales has saved up $450 for dog food. How many months can she feed her new puppy? So our equation is y equals 50x plus 200. And again, we have our y value. So we have 450 equals 50x plus 200. My first step is going to be to subtract 200. So we have 250 equals 50x. Then we'll divide both sides by 50. And we get that x is 5 months. All right, last example. So going back to my pen example, the first package of pens cost $14.99 and the second package cost $12.99. Which package should I buy? So for the first package, we are going to use the equation y equals 0.70x, and we know the original cost. So in this case, I'm plugging in a value for x. So we'll have y equals 0.70 times $14.99. And we get that the cost is going to be $10.49. For the second package, we have that y equals 0.75x. So we'll do 0.75 times $12.99. And we're going to get y equals $9.74. So obviously, I should purchase the second package of pens. So even though it's not as much on sale, it does give me a better deal than buying the package that was more on sale. So just kind of something to keep in mind when you're purchasing anything. Just because something is a bigger discounted price, so a bigger percent off, doesn't necessarily mean it's the better deal. So you always want to double check those things. So let me know if you have any questions about writing a linear equation or solving for x or y.